Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon for all their support, because without their help, the upgraded content that you see on the channel, that you really see in the video essays and a few of the lore discussions would not be possible without their help. But over on the Patreon, you get sneak peeks of videos months in advance. Patrons also get priority on the Q&As. Every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and I give away a lot of good goodies in that. And it's also just really cool to talk to you guys in the DMs, and if some of you guys have theories that you want me to talk about on the channel, obviously I will talk about your theories. Just send them to me over on the Patreon. But with that being said, let's get into the review. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto episode 242. And now that episode 242 is done in the books, first and foremost, not only do we have a lot to talk about from this episode, but we also have to take a moment to appreciate what Studio Pierrot did working alongside Studio Jiwoo, so Jiwoo Animation. Essentially, we had segments in this episode where they were blending 3D animation in terms of 3D backgrounds with 2D animation, and some of those sequences looked really good. That's not something that we typically see very often in Boruto episodes, so this was a very nice treat. We had some moments in this episode where that was incorporated. That was a very nice treat to see. Some of those sequences were very fluid. I can understand why some of you guys might be thrown off by it. I've seen a few comments of people say that threw them off, and that's one of those things where, again, we're not used to seeing that. Typically everything is 2D background, so very cool to see that. Now, backing things up a little bit, I have to say this episode was a nice teaser in terms of the battles that are coming, because we got the opportunity to see Metal Lee and Awabe get their moment to shine, where they do a little bit of action. You got to see mostly Boruto be put into a position where Boruto fighting against Siren, Akata's sister. We see that moment where Boruto realizes that he has a long distance fighter that he's having to fight against, but he can't quite close the gap because of the way that her jutsu works. And I like what you see right there in terms of utilizing that, because this is a throwback to how fights used to be in the Naruto series, where it didn't matter if you were stronger than the opponent. If they had a hacks jutsu or if they had a strategic advantage, you're gonna have to work a lot harder to overcome that. So I thought that that was a nice and welcome addition right there. Now, I gotta say, I like how the episode opens up and we see how Sarada, as she's leading the two teams, Sarada has to kind of point out, like, we have to be very careful, because we were told we need to look out for a terrorist attack, but the problem that we need to also keep in mind is that we can't get dragged into war. And as this is going on, Boruto basically tells Sarada, hey, I've got a bad feeling about something that's going on. And Sarada trusts Boruto's judgment enough to where she's like, look, just don't do anything crazy. And in typical Boruto fashion, he notices the dark fog that's going on, realizes that something is afoot, and as this is happening, we learn that Ikada has gone back to his room, and he's been thinking about the words that his sister told to him. He's been thinking about his ties to the Funato Clan, and what I like about that is that we just start seeing how he's beginning to waver, and as he's wavering, that's when we see that Siren is positioning her troops, and she's saying that, like, hey, we're going to have to take out Kagura, because Kagura is an aide to the Mizukage, but we also have to take out the Hokage's son. So I like the fact that even though Siren is told, hey, Boruto's the son of the 7th Hokage, are you sure you want to do this? That lets you know that the Funato Clan, they're at least aware of the possibility that, like, yo, if we harm the Hokage's kid, that's something that could start a war with Konoha. And Siren doesn't care. She says, he's here, he's getting involved in our matters, I'll dust him myself. I'll handle it personally. And what I like right there is that as this is happening, the Funato Clan releases all these leeches. It's kind of similar to what you saw with the New Way arc, where Sumire was using New Way to make people act incorrectly. And we see the effects all throughout the island, because Kawaki has been taken control of, Bunten's been taken control of, and you see both of them trying to fight the effects that come from that leech. And I thought from a strategic perspective, that was actually something pretty clever right there. And what I also like is that as this distraction is going on, you have this moment where Siren is preparing to get the drop on Boruto, the real Boruto is sitting on a bench, but Boruto also has a shadow clone watching his six. And as Siren begins to snap him out, that's when the clone approaches and says, well, what is it that you want from me? And Siren ends up sniping out the shadow clone, and that alerts Boruto to what's taking place. And we get this really cool moment where Boruto takes off running because he knows that he's under attack at this point because the shadow clone's intel's been brought over to him. And what I like about that is that it kind of just shows that Boruto's in for a different type of attack. And as all the fights are starting to break out all across this island, you have Metal Lee. Metal Lee has to take out the Mist Shinobi that has been controlled by these slugs. And so now you start seeing that there's a battle on two fronts, because now people are having to watch as their comrades are being controlled and their comrades are destroying the island. And as this is happening, it's all a deception, because you have people from the Funato Clan that are mixing in with these attacks. And Kagura immediately gets blindsided by one of them. And you see Funamushi, who ends up knocking Kagura across the battlefield. And as that begins to take place, that's when you see Heavy Ichigo, and she starts wavering for a second. And when I say she's wavering, she's looking at it and saying, good, Kagura can end up getting killed. But what happens later on in the episode is that as she's watching and rooting for his death, Heavy Ichigo's forced to make a decision. She's having to defend herself because things aren't aligning in the way that she would have wanted. And what I like about that is that it just shows us that there's a more gray area for Heavy Ichigo, and it shows that Kagura likely has a suspicion of what it was that was going on with her character, but he still accepted her back into the fold. He's trying to give her the opportunity to make things right the same way that Chojuro did for him. And what I like about the Kagura fight is that as Kagura ends up doing battle with Funamushi, we get the opportunity for Kagura to start showing how strong he's gotten, because Kagura using restraint is interrogating Funamushi, and we just see more of that conflict that takes place where you have some people that do not like the progression that has been going on in the land of water. They think that their way of life is being impacted, but you have people like Kagura who look at it and say that this is progress that will help everybody. And what I like about that is that it just gives us the opportunity to see that this battle isn't just a battle against pirates. It's also a battle against people who feel that their way of life has been impacted. And the Funato Clan, they represent more people in the land of water. And it just shows that for as progressive as things have gotten, there will always be people who cling to the way that things used to be. So I thought that that was a interesting social commentary that was placed there. Once Kagura stops pulling his punches, he just sends Funamushi flying across the battlefield. Very short, but the real meat and potatoes of this episode is essentially the Boruto versus Siren fight, where Boruto the whole time has been doing cat and mouse, where he's running through the woods. He's trying to put some distance between them. Boruto learns very quickly that even though he's in the woods and he's taking cover, that just gives Siren the opportunity to get more high ground locations on him. And she just starts shooting off these arrows at him. And when Boruto thinks that he has a good location on her, Siren just snipes this man and takes out his arm. And it's because of the way that her jutsu works. Essentially, she shoots the arrow off. She has these additional strings that she can start using, and the strings will change the trajectory. So for Boruto, he thinks that she's on one tree when really she's 3 or 4 trees over to the right. She can just change the trajectory of her attacks. And so I thought that that was nice to see that. And it's because of the sound vibrations, and it's also because of the sound vibrations that she was able to locate where Boruto is. So the longer you're in battle with Siren and the more distance you are between her, the more you really play into her hands. And I thought that that was nice right there, because it just shows again the importance of when you fight these long distance fighters that have an advantage like this in a terrain situation, you have to close the gap between them. And what I like is that Boruto and Kagura, as they begin to team up, they begin to play off of each other's strengths. And I like how when Kagura shows up, that Siren begins to start losing her cool for a little bit. And that's the one advantage that she did have, is that she's a very calculated character. And what I like about that is that it just shows that that was ultimately one of the things that was going to be her downfall. And what I like about that chakra based attack that she did is that in a very sneaky way, it's very similar to the gentle fist, where the gentle fist targets the chakra network of a person, and that chakra based attack that she does, it shuts down the chakra network in whatever body part that it hits. Now, the plan that they come up with is that they're going to use Kagura's sword as a way to give them a shield. They split up their attacks as a way to try and get closer. And what I like about this sequence is that just when it looks like Kagura is in major trouble and you see the blood splatters and everything because of how he's been hit, we also get to see a very crucial element of battle where Kagura is laying on the ground, he's bleeding out, and we see that Siren has been waiting the whole time because she was planning to snipe out Boruto, and Kagura has to warn Boruto that if you come out here to check on me, she's going to use that against you. And you know, for me, that was kind of cool because that's one logical, but also reminds me of a scene that happens in Metal Gear Solid in the very first game where Solid Snake and the other character in the game, Meryl, they're going and they're infiltrating part of the base, and you end up seeing Meryl get shot on a obscure location of Shadow Moses, and Sniper Wolf does the very same thing that you see Siren do. And I like how Kagura basically says like, hey, she's using her kindness against you. That's a sniper trick where you leave the target alive. That way the comrades come out there and look at them, and you can just kill everybody all at once. And I like how what we see is that Boruto doesn't care. Boruto runs straight forward through. He dodges the chakra-based attack at point-blank range, and he takes Kagura out towards safety. And what I like here is that as Siren begins to start trying to track down the location, we find out that the sound wave vibrations that she uses to locate Boruto in them, it can't be done because of the thunder that's taking place outside. It's disrupting her ability to locate their location in battle. So I like that the one advantage she has, it's been taken out. Between that and between her losing her patience, there's a great opportunity to turn the tables on her. And that was something that Boruto, as he got information on her jutsu and he became aware of the surroundings, Boruto directly says, I factored that into my plan to come out and save you. So, I mean, we're seeing flashes of what's a young Minato right here. I like that you see that aspect of Boruto. We've been told countless times that this is a genius. You really see it here. The only real thing that he's missing right now is he's really just missing that battle experience. And that was really something that Sasuke had told Boruto in the past, that like, you're skilled. The only thing you're missing is the mission experience. You need to be going on missions and getting more experience. That's basically all Boruto's missing right now because the talent's clearly there. And what I also like is that Kagura uses her short temper against her, and it allows Boruto to start closing the distance between himself and Siren. And that sequence is so beautiful where Boruto throws the flashbangs and the smoke bombs, and Boruto's running through the area. He's dodging the attacks that Siren is shooting at him. And I like that what we see here is that just when it seems like Siren has a good drop on him, that's when Kagura shows up, and Kagura is the one that dishes out the final blow on her, and all that blood just begins to splatter right in front of her. She's been given a critical injury. She falls off of the balcony onto her back, and what I like about that moment right there is that Funamushi's the one that shows up, and he's the one that takes Siren back to their ship. And that's when we find out at the end of the episode that Ikada gets to see his sister in that critical condition, and he learns that it was Boruto and it was Kagura who did that damage to his sister. So now we're starting to see those loyalties waver a bit. I like, for the most part, I like what we got out of this episode right here. The action sequences, a lot of the resources really went towards the Boruto fight, and I think that because of the nature of that fight, that was something that needed to happen. But I mean, overall, this was a cool episode, man. This was really cool. I will say this, episode 244, I'm hearing a lot of good things for episode 244. That's going to be solely done by Studio Pierrot, so I do expect that to be a very good episode. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.